Hello, everybody of the Restricted Research Committee. It's 12 o'clock in Austin, at least according to our very precise agency chronometers. My name is Reinhold Cornelius, and we are starting the Restricted Research Committee review of awards list to finish up the work we did at the end of July. And so this is, according to our agenda, the call to order and the welcome. And with me in the room is Dr. Jennifer Nalos, who's again working our list and our transparency list, which you will, or which you already see on, which you will see on the computer screens. Christina Kelly is at the broadcast booth, and we also have one member with us from the committee, that is Roxanne Parks from Lamar University. So we are official here, and with that I would like to ask everybody to say hello on the phone, and so that we can do that, there are a lot of people on the phone. We heard you dial in. I go down the list and name your institution, and then you can say who you are and hello to the group. So let's do that, starting with Angelo State.
Yes, this is Katie Plum.
Lamar is here. Roxanne, you want?
Roxanne Smith Parks.
Midwestern State.
Hi, it's Brittany Norman.
Hello. Prairie View. Sam Houston State.
Yes, this is Bob Effinger. Guten Tag.
Hello, guten Tag. Stephen F. Austin State University.
Hello, this is Jennifer Hanlon.
Hello. Sewell Ross State.
Hello, this is Marilyn McGee.
Tarleton State.
Hello, Barry Lambert here.
Texas A&M Galveston.
Hello, this is Diego Furcio.
Hello, Texas A&M International. Texas A&M Commerce. Texas A&M Corpus Christi.
Hi everyone, Maida Huff here.
Hello, Texas A&M Kingsville.
Hi everyone, this is Diana Luna.
Texas A&M San Antonio. Texas A&M Texarkana. Texas Southern University. Texas State University.
Hi everyone, Mike Blanda here.
Hello, Texas Tech.
Hello, Amy Cook.
Texas Women's. University of Houston.
Chris Milligan, welcome.
Hello, University of Houston Clear Lake.
Hi, we have two on the line, Nancy Devono and Laura Mosley.
Hello. University of Houston Downtown.
Texas A&M International in Laredo, Texas.
Texas. And that is Soila Franco?
Yes, that's right, sir.
Welcome. Okay.
Thank you.
University of Houston, Victoria.
Good afternoon. It's Angela Hartman.
Hello. University of North Texas.
Good afternoon, Carla McGuire.
UNT Dallas. And we're going to the UT schools at Arlington. UT Arlington. UT Dallas.
Hello, Emily Lacey here.
UT El Paso.
Hi, Daniel Lopez.
Hello. UT San Antonio.
Hi, Jennifer Silver and Dr. Mickey Stevenson.
UT Tyler.
Hello, this is Quita Mkhtari, and we are two on the line, Quita Mkhtari and...
Carla Reichard.
Hello. UTPB, Permian Basin.
Good afternoon. This is Sandra Garcia. Hello, everybody.
Hello. UT Rio Grande Valley.
Good afternoon. This is Mari Perez.
Hello. West Texas A&M University. Did anybody join while we were going down the list who didn't have a chance to say hello? Okay, so then we have good attendance. And our next point is to get through the list we have left to do. And so I hope you all have in front of you the document, the PDF we sent with the list of awards, and we ordered them again in order of award size so that we go from the largest to the smallest. And because nobody else is in the room except one committee member, I think it will be best if I don't call you up on the phone for each award. So I will introduce the awards briefly, and then it is your responsibility to chime in and say something, and either say that you support the award as restricted research or mention your concerns. And then we go from there if we find consensus. And so is that okay with everybody?
Sounds good.
That works.
Okay.
Yes.
That'll work.
Very good. So let's start with the first one. It's number 78402 by Texas A&M University Corpus Christi. That award actually was withdrawn and we confirmed that. And the second award also was withdrawn, 80353 by Texas A&M Kingsville. Then the first award is by UT San Antonio, 78434 for $14,458 with the title 2019-35 Frost Tower CPS line monitoring. And this is from the Center of Archeological Research, where they look at excavations during construction.
Yes, we've established these and many other similar awards to be research. I don't have a problem with them.
Yes, research.
Okay.
Yes, research.
Okay. 78434 is marked research. The next one, 78221, is withdrawn. Then comes from UTEP 78222. It's investigating the intra-rater reliability of the physical therapy Spanish proficiency measure. And apparently, from the description, there is a tool called PTSPM, and this project for $14,214 will look into the reliability of that tool and establish actually how proficient Spanish speakers are in reality. Do we mark this restricted research?
Yes.
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 Oh,
Yes.
okay. Then we go to 80368 by UT Arlington. This is this award for 13,541, according to the description, has a donor letter for restricted research and training of a certain lab. Do we mark this?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we mark it restricted research. 78157, Sam Houston State University for 13,000 plus. This project has an IRB and collects, processes, analyzes, and evaluates data according to domestic violence matters. Do we mark it restricted research?
Yes.
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 Okay. Then we go to UT San Antonio 78361, $13,000 plus. This is a task order with the Southwest Research Institute for support of a graduate student training.
Yes.
We mark it restricted research. Next is 79273, Texas A&M Corpus Christi. This is our network-to-network approach, and they link somehow climate issues with community response. They do observations, modeling, and risk awareness. Do we mark it restricted research?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Next is UT San Antonio 78316 for 12,000 plus. Archeological research, also with excavations as the one we had at the beginning.
Yes, absolutely.
We mark it restricted research. 78307 UT Dallas. This is feasibility of fabricating some high-tech things. It's by the...
Yes.
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 Okay. 1 second. There's an issue with the broadcast. Can you all see what we broadcast? They can't?
Yes, I can. Yeah. Well,
I can hear you.
PDF that you sent.
I can see you.
Oh, you see me.
Yeah, the YouTube video is working fine.
Oh, I see.
So somehow there's some discussion, and I want to hold it because Jen will have to note what we say, and she's busy sizing the screen. But can you follow along?
Yes, I'm following along on the PDF.
Okay, I'm just concerned that Jen also can follow along with her tool, but 78307 was marked restricted research. And that's where we left off. Yeah, so we're going down the PDF, if that is okay.
Yes.
Yes.
The next one on the list is by UT Arlington. That's 79553. This is a project that identifies risk factors for bonds. Related to airport constructions, etc. Is this?
So can I ask the question? What is the research done that they're conducting on the bonds? How are they collecting the data?
So the question is, what kind of research and data are being worked with and looked at here?
It's my understanding that they are collecting information or financial information on how transportation bonds, specifically airport bonds, are performing as opposed to regular bonds. Like it's a field of study in this area that has not been done before.
Is this the College of Business or some?
It's the College of Business, yeah.
And who gets the? What is done with the research?
Hang on one second, let me just bring it up real quick. Sorry, I joined a little bit late and I'm a little scattered. Excuse me just one second, let me just find it. Can you say the number again?
It's 79553, UT Arlington for $12,000. Title is Risk Factors and/or Cost of Capital for Airport-Related Bond Issuers.
Okay, so what he's doing, he says there's no works for knowledge to directly extend these methods to municipal bonds or to bonds explicitly tied to the transport or airport industries. The project should allow for the identification of risk factors that are significant in explaining the time series variation in the S&P Municipal Bond Airport Index. And he is going to publish the results, and he's saying that other people can use the results to better understand the nature of cross-sectional risk factors in settings other than for common stocks.
I guess my only concern with this wasn't that there wasn't research involved, but what was being done beyond sending a report to the entity who's requesting this evaluation. Is this something that's larger, going to be published elsewhere, or is this just I don't mean to be crude, but a service project?
It is not a service project. It is meant to be published, and he said in his the statement of work that he's assuming that other academics can use his results. So he's planning on publishing and presenting.
So the outcome would be, and I think in the first sentence you use the plural industries and not just one sponsor.
Right. It's not just the one sponsor.
Pardon me?
It's not, yeah, he's looking at several different, the municipal bond industry, airport, so there's all sorts of different, and transportation, all sorts of different industries that he's examining.
Okay, so are we satisfied that this is research that is broadly distributed or to a broad spectrum of stakeholders?
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Yes.
I say yes.
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 Okay.
And it's funded, by the way, by the Airport Cooperative Research Program, so it's not like it's one specific customer.
Okay, that good information. So we mark it restricted research.
Thank you.
Then we go to UTEP 79670. That is an endowed chair at the College of Business Administration. So do we mark this restricted research?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we have 78435 by UT San Antonio, HS Community Assessment. So this is community needs assessment for the Center of New Communities.
So on this one, UTSA will collect and tabulate primary data from the survey respondents and secondary data from existing sources for the C4NC Early Head Start 2019 Comprehensive Community Needs Assessment.
Yeah, I think the only question on this one is the same as we had with just the earlier one, which is this designed just to result in a report to these individuals or to, for generalizable purposes, to broadly disseminate?
So this is another one that will be published broadly in terms of the methods that they're using to gather the information and work with the communities.
Yeah, and I think another aspect of this, if I might, is, sometimes there are the agreements to do just that, gather the research and then submit that to the funding agency, who then has their own protocol or agenda as to what they're going to do with it. I mean, a lot of times we'll see, one research group gathers the data and simply reports it to a larger entity that then gets encompassed in a bigger report, things like the SINAR report and things like that. So I don't know if they necessarily have to be the publisher, but I think the generalizable part is important.
Will UTSA also use the data?
I don't think that really matters.
Research Center.
For me, anyway, yeah.
It does not matter?
Not for me. I mean,
Okay.
The fact that you're gathering the data is an act of research, right? Now, if it's just for programmatic improvement, I mean, that's one thing. But if it's incorporated into a larger body of work that's then communicated by somebody, right, then I can see the research aspect to it.
Yeah, so I guess the question is this something larger, or is it an economic service for urban planning?
Right, and so my response to that question was that this would be published broadly in terms of the methodology used to gather the data.
Okay, so I think I understand now that the team working on it will publish the methodology, and the unit who gets it may publish what they do with the data.
I mean, it's information that would normally be published. So.
Right, and it's being done at an institute for research, so that's basically what they do there.
Oh, I see. Uh-huh.
Okay.
So I would say yes.
Yeah.
Everybody, or anybody know? I don't hear any, so we mark this restricted research?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the next one, 78213, is UT San Antonio, and it's intensive pedestrian and shovel testing survey. And that sounds ominous, but that's actually a technical term. Pedestrian and shovel testing of archaeology survey in the field.
Absolutely, has to be done.
Yes, and it's also done by a research center.
Yep.
Okay, so we mark this restricted research.
Yes.
Yes.
Then we have Texas State University 80679. It's a behavioral study. It has IRB and is concerned about adventure
the
therapy.
largest city in the nation.
Pardon me?
Thank you for calling the University of Texas at San Antonio. It's an exciting time to be a Roadrunner. The future is bright for more than 30,000 students. At the same time, our reputation is growing as a multicultural discovery enterprise known for research, learning, and classroom-to-career opportunities. Join us now as a student, faculty member, staff member, or business partner.
Thanks for holding. Your call is important to us, and we'll be with you shortly.
Can UT San Antonio? Oh, they don't hear
They
us.
probably put us on hold.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they hear us. So.
They probably don't hear us.
If we know the person's name
Welcome
from UT
to
San
the
Antonio,
University
can we
of
call them?
Texas at San Antonio.
Silver.
UTSA has a friendly,
Jennifer.
welcoming feel with big dreams and great success in critical fields such as research.
Can we try ringing the line so he removes us from hold?
Yes,
There,
we are
he did.
trying to do something.
Yes. UT San Antonio, please don't place us on hold.
Okay. Is the problem solved?
It sounds like it.
Sounds like it.
Okay. Well, hopefully UT San Antonio will come back. And okay, that would be an emergency stop, yeah. So we were discussing here the phone line, but we are back on track. Still on page 5 with of the PDF on award 80679 with Texas State, and that is the adventure therapy study for which there's IRB. It's a multi-state study, and they do.
I would say yes.
Yes.
Okay. That is marked restricted research. Then we have Texas Tech 80341. They study in some form or fashion historical documents and structures in Gillespie County. It's donor restricted, I think.
That's correct.
So they study.
I would say yes on this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is marked restricted research. Another Texas Tech 80342. This appears to be donor restricted training of a student in the Ag and Natural Resources, Ag Sciences and Natural Resources.
Say yes.
So we
What
mark.
work are they going to be doing? This field work, where they fill students.
It says here they.
I think I transposed the words.
Yeah.
A student with a field of study in Kasner, College of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources. It's to support a graduate student in one of the Kasner fields of study.
I see. So the second student word should be study, field of study. Got it.
Right.
So it appears.
So can I ask a question, and this is more my ignorance on this, is when we say to support a graduate student, and to me there's a difference between supporting a graduate student with no more explanation versus supporting a graduate student's research work or training in or support in a lab. So is this just like supporting their tuition? Is this supporting their research?
That's a good point.
Exactly. That's kind of why I was going with it.
Hold on, I'm pulling it up.
My guess is it's probably just for research, but it just doesn't say it here, and that's all I'm looking for.
It's to support them while they are here at Texas Tech University to do research.
But in what field? I mean, I know it's the college, but like, is it like food sciences, or is it like what are they going to be studying?
It's agricultural sciences. I think this one may be plant and soil. Let me look real quick. Oh, here it is. No, it is not plant and soil sciences. I apologize. It is agricultural economical management.
Is there any more specifics as to what this is to support them doing?
It's to support them working in whatever field of study that they're trying to get their degree in.
So it's it's $10,000 is more than $5,000 for research, or is it, as somebody said, tuition or stipend or something?
Well, part of it will be tuition and fees, part of it will be probably travel, part of it will be, whatever is needed to complete.
Yeah, I mean, I think, these are somewhat along the lines of endowed professorships or chairs. I mean, unless it's a non-thesis program, right, then I would have issues with that. But, yeah, I mean, a gift to support a graduate student is going to be pretty encompassing. And so if it said in graduate fellowship, I mean, maybe that would change the flavor of it a little bit, or the appearance of it a little bit. But to me, the only question is, just like endowed professors and chairs, is if this is a dissertation or thesis program, then the support is general, for that student. They do have to pay tuition, they do have living fees, they do have supplies, they do have, many other costs of pursuing that research program. So that's
right, exactly. And so that's just kind of my asking too, if it's supporting the student, as somebody indicated already, their tuition, their fees, their books, or is it really, which I guess will then lead to them doing the research in the labs or the area of the field of study. But I'll go with a yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we think this is a research-driven field, and anybody still with the concern?
I'm a no on this without additional information.
I say yes.
Yes.
I don't have enough information to make a good decision here on this one.
Yeah, this one's tricky because under 2.3.6, dissertation work funded by grants is not considered allowable unless it's associated with a restricted R&D project.
Well,
so I think we need a little more there.
Yeah, it's not a grant, though. It's a gift.
And it's restricted.
And it's restricted.
And I think that was the point that Jeremy was making the other day about why the SAM should be updated, which is because dissertations, by virtue of what they are typically research.
So there were at least, I think, 2 no's. Are there other no's?
Yeah, there's one more no. This is Karen from West Texas. I'd just like to have additional detail on what the project is that they're working on. I'm not convinced yet.
Okay, this is award 80342. If you are a no, say your institution name.
University of Houston, no.
UHDL, no.
West Texas, no.
UT Tyler, no, because I don't have enough information to make a decision on this one.
Galveston, no.
Who was that?
Galveston.
Oh, okay. Any other no's?
Corpus Christi, no.
Any other?
UT El Paso, no.
Sam Houston State, no.
Lamar, no.
Ross State University, no.
Which one was the last one on the phone?
Sul Ross State University.
Thank you.
Thank you.
University of Houston, Victoria, no.
Tarleton State University, no.
So this is close. So I go down the list for the yeses and just say quickly yes, because I don't know who is on the phone right now. It's hard to compare to what we had at the introduction. So Angelo State?
I'm abstaining. I don't have enough information.
Midwestern State?
I am also abstaining.
Prairie View? Not there. Stephen F. Austin?
Yes.
And Texas A&M International?
Abstain until more information is received.
Commerce is not there. Corpus Christi, Kingsville?
Yes.
And this is UT San Antonio?
Yes.
A&M Texarkana? Not there. Texas Southern, not there. Texas State?
Yes.
Texas Tech, I assume yes.
Yes.
Texas Women's, not there. UT Arlington?
Yes.
UT Dallas?
Yes.
UT San Antonio?
Yes.
UT Permian Basin?
Yes.
UTRGV?
Yes.
UNT Dallas, I think, is not online. UH Downtown is not online. UNT. Yes, UNT, are you online?
Yes, sorry, I had it muted.
It's a yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Oh, wow.
That's UTSA answered.
Yeah, but I mean.
Right, but you called UT, you
Oh, UT.
Yeah.
UT,
Texas A&M San Antonio.
Texas A&M San Antonio. It's not on the line. Thank you. So then it's 10 to 12.
3.
Yes. Okay. The yeses are 10, the noes are 12, and 3 abstains. So that was for 80342. And so this is marked, not marked, this is marked a no, basically because the information was not quite complete to support it. So the last one on page 5 is 78485 by UTEP. And this is unmanned engine air particle separator. I believe this project is a development project where they put a fancy filter on a plane.
Good to me.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
So, market restricted research. Page 6, UT San Antonio. That is a survey. Where they collect information on budgetary priorities and UTSA students collect data and help with that. And then it's presented to the city of San Antonio. And so there are 2 of them. That's 78289 and 78288. Each one is marked for $10,000. So the project has 2 accounts, but they belong together for a total of $20,000. And so this also, again, is falls a little bit into the question: is this yes, it's research, but is it general research or is it for a client service? I think like the one before. What are your comments on that?
What is the budget supporting? Is it, you said it's a graduate student?
Yes.
Graduate student in which department? Do you know that?
It's in the public policy.
Right. Well, I mean, what I'm trying to do again is to link, this funding to that program, specifically the thesis dissertation expectation for that program. So, I mean, normally you wouldn't assign a graduate student to a project that didn't have something to do with their research or their dissertation. I mean, I wouldn't do that. But.
Exactly.
Their work, students are assisting the city with data collection at community events. Results of the online survey will be analyzed and presented to the city of San Antonio. The methodology the goal is to access a cross-section of residents from all city council districts and attempt to ensure gender, age, and race, ethnicity representation, collect data through an online survey approved in advance by the city, follow up with telephone calls, and the report will provide specific details of the final sample and its associated margin of error.
Was there an IRB on that?
I don't think so. No.
You may not be collecting that kind of personal identifiable information, but.
The phone.
Correct.
Yeah.
Actually, if I'm looking at the right project, it looks like you do have IRB according to your other info form.
All right.
Okay.
This is also the kind of research that probably will not require an IRB application because of the nature of the research.
Correct.
That could be.
So my only concern with this one is that we're employing the students to get the information, but are the students also going to be, besides collecting it and following up via conference, are they also going to be analyzing it? The budget seems to support the hiring of students to collect the data. I don't see beyond a fee for service or a specific service task that the university is fulfilling where it's research or where it's expanding the research knowledge of the students.
So the students will also be trained and made available to assist with community outreach at community events. This is part of the center's mission in training and educating students and working in community type environment.
Who will be analyzing the data and massaging it?
The students will be overseen by the 2 faculty on this project to analyze the data.
I would say yes, because it's got an IRB, they're going to be collecting data, and then they have to analyze it and generate information back to the sponsor.
So is there an IRB or not? I didn't look at the documentation, and I'm not clear from the discussion.
It does not have an IRB. It's not overseen by an IRB according to the federal regulations for human research.
Yeah, it may not need it.
Correct.
I mean, to me, it's clearly data collection. I mean, I see that as an act of research. It may be part of, the city of San Antonio's larger effort, right, to plan and understand something. But to me, the $10,000 is to support a research activity, and that is the gathering of data through these surveys. So I understand what is happening, or what the questions about what's happening downstream, but I don't know if the agreement is that encompassing.
Well, but then how do you overcome the prohibition from 2.4.4, which has to do with economic services inclusive of things like surveys?
Uh-huh.
Is there some evidence of plans to use the data beyond the scope of services for the city?
Yeah, and again, that's where, I'm not going to speak for San Antonio, but, the inference that, graduate students involved from an institute that, I believe it was an institute that would be related to this type of social study. Maybe I am inferring too much, but...
Is it graduate students?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's from the Criminal Justice Department of Public Policy.
I just don't have enough evidence, preponderance of evidence, I guess I would say, to put me over that 51%.
Because this is community-based research?
Oh, no, not at all. But to me, it's if you took the same information that I can see listed here and substitute, we want to find out what the priority of food choices are in the food court, and we're going to hire graduate students in this area to go and survey them and collect that data and provide a report. How would that be different? My concern is the tasks that are outlined just seem to be the collecting of data, and I just don't see anything more than the data collection. From the whoever's doing it, the students or a PI or whatever. It just seems to be that we're going to take students, put them out, collect data, and and the information is going to be synthesized and provided to a client. That's where my concern is. And there probably is more. I just don't see it as where my issue is.
And I can still see it. I understand the question you raised about the service. I mean, I could even see it as 1.3.2, giving grad students opportunity to go out and learn how to collect data, to analyze data even from the standpoint of, is it legitimate, data? I mean, what's the quality of the data or the fidelity of the data? I just don't want us to rule out data collection in and of itself as a non-research activity.
I don't think we should, but I think we need more information because data collection in and of itself is not research unless there's some of these other factors that go with.
And for community-based research, it's not just the collection of data, but it's also packaging it in such a way that it can inform decision-making at the city level. And so that's another piece to the graduate education for criminal justice students.
I think this is where intent is hard to tease out as well, because we have a number of projects like this where, again, it's a situation where I actually know my PIs, and so I happen to know for a fact the intent is really just to do the report and not to do anything else beyond that generalizably. And so I think that's why we're kind of, because a lot of us have those types of projects, we're kind of reticent without a little more evidence.
Right, and our criminal justice department is focused on research and instead of just providing services.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the problem we're running into is, particularly when we get some of these non-governmental type, although it's a city, when they're federal awards, we have a lot of documents to look at. We have BAAs, we have CFDAs, we have, program announcements. We have a wealth of programmatic information to look for. When we get to the state awards, they start to look like agreement for services because, they want an agency to do something. And then when we get to these smaller types of awards, a lot of times they're written broadly or vaguely. And it's not to say that research isn't going on, it's just not as explicitly presented as we may want.
This is another one of those examples. If the PI had just added one more sentence, we would have been golden.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a little bit more information from the services agreement that I just pulled up, and it says the student support with community outreach piece, that 2 to 4 student workers from the Policy Studies Center available to assist with community outreach at 15 to 20 community events as determined by the city. At least one of the student workers at each event will be fluent Spanish speakers. Each student worker shall be available for 4 hours per event. Assist with data collection at events overseen by the city, and the Policy Studies Center shall provide data collection instruments and will keep and maintain all data collected at events. And the city is going to provide T-shirts to identify the data collectors. So the city will oversee the project, and the students will be involved in the research.
I suggest we just take it to a vote.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm waiting if you're ready to do this. Obviously, we are struggling with lack of detail again, so that is hard. If we do a vote, then we have 2 awards together. That's 78289 and 78288. I will go down the list, and then you say either yes or no, or you may say undecided.
I have to walk while we wait.
Pardon me? Okay. So let's start the roll call. Angela State.
No.
No.
Lamar. Midwestern.
Undecided.
Peer review, not there. Sam Houston State.
No.
Stephen F. Austin State.
Undecided.
Sewell Ross State.
No.
Tarleton State.
No.
A&M International.
Abstain.
Abstain. A&M Galveston.
Abstain.
A&M Commerce. Not there. A&M Corpus.
No.
A&M Kingsville.
No.
A&M San Antonio. A&M Texarkana. Not there. Texas Southern. Not there. Texas State.
I'll have to abstain.
Texas Tech.
Undecided.
Texas Women's. Not there. UT Arlington.
Abstain.
UT Dallas.
Abstain.
UT El Paso.
No.
UT San Antonio is a yes. UT Tyler.
No.
UT Permian Basin.
Abstain.
UT Rio Grande Valley.
No.
UNT Dallas is not there. UH.
No.
UH Clear Lake.
No.
UH Downtown. Not there. UH Victoria.
No.
UNT.
Abstain.
West Texas.
No.
Okay, we have one yes, and we have 14 no's and 10 abstentions. So the award 78289 and 78288 we mark not restricted research. Then we are still on page 6 with 78866 UTAP. This is the Chemistry Special Research Fund. And there were gift funds for purchase supplies in chemistry.
Can I just ask for clarification that when we say supplies for projects, we mean research projects, not anything that might be going on in the department, like an event or something?
Correct. Research project.
Then I support this.
Okay. So we mark it
Where's a special research fund coming from?
Special Research Fund. We mark it restricted research. Texas A&M.
I think we had a question where the funding was coming from.
From an individual donor?
Okay.
I think the answer was it's an individual donor.
Yes.
Okay. So that's externally restricted by a donor for research projects in chemistry, so we mark it a restricted research. 78201, A&M Corpus Christi. They develop a public genomic library of sea creatures. It's a survey of organisms, and they barcode their DNA database.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we mark this restricted research. 80681 was withdrawn. 80680, Texas State. There is archaeology excavation at the burial.
Yes.
Yes.
That's marked restricted research. Then we go to page 7, Texas Tech. There is a study of human body dimensions in time, and they also do a calibration of standards for these body types. And it's published with IRB. So this is marked restricted research. Then it's UT Arlington super sensor. So they're putting a sensor on a drone to make some virtual reality output. So that would be equipment enhancement.
Yeah.
Is this for research purposes?
Are you asking me for more information, or are you asking everyone to vote?
I'm asking if this is for if this activity or equipment enhancement of the drone is for research purpose.
Well, the research is they're building the drone. So I mean, they're building a prototype, and then they're taking the data that is collected by the prototype and then making it into something viewable in virtual reality. So there's really two components to the research.
Sounds like developmental research to me. So I say yes.
I say yes.
Yeah.
Okay, development, and we mark it as restricted research. Thank you. 78363 UT San Antonio, it's a task order for graduate student working at the SWRI, the Southwest Research Institute.
Yes.
Yes.
We mark it restricted research.
They're not like serving as security guard or something, kind of unrelated. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't hear.
I threw that out there. I didn't mean to disrupt anything. Sorry.
Okay. That was 78363. We go to 79353. UT Arlington. This is graduate student travel. Restricted funds used for research based on more than 50% of budget for research purposes.
Can we get just a hair more information, because the title is implying that this is for travel. The description is saying it's for research, used for research, and I'm not suggesting that that's not happening, but can we just get something else in there to kind of link the two?
Sure. The chair uses the graduate student travel funds to allow students to go to research conferences to present original research papers.
That's enough for me.
Yep, that's good.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we mark it restricted research. UT San Antonio, 80452. There is a study of rangeland management, and there is a donor who wants updates of and documents from the research, but is not the direct recipient of it. So it's I guess not a service for the donor for the rangeland management. Is that a correct interpretation?
Yes, that's the information we have.
Do we mark this as restricted research?
Yes.
I would, yeah. I mean, if it's the donor.
Yes.
Okay, then we do so. Then 80688, by Texas State, Robotic Assembly Research Fund, and that's on at the bottom of page 7, and on the top of page 8, there is the same, what looks like to me an identical award. It's not quite clear.
Identical. One is supported by the MOU, right, and the other is actually supported by a specific letter that came later.
So I don't know if it matters, but they give twice, 2 times $9,000?
2 times $9,000.
Oh, okay.
Correct.
So it's a donor-restricted gift to work with and robots assembly.
Looks good.
Yes.
So we mark both of them 80688 and 80689 restricted research. The next one, 7968, was withdrawn. Then we have 79982 by UT San Antonio, and they are doing what looks like a success study of students in a program, SAEP. So they're looking into how successful the high school students are who go through this educational program. Do we mark this restricted research?
Yes.
No objections?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
We mark it restricted research. 80690 Texas State University. It's again, it's the Center for Archeological Studies, and they do research, resource management project for collections of archaeological collections. So we mark this restricted research?
Yes.
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 Okay. 78328 UTEP. This is a task order which is classified, so we mark it restricted research. 78113 A&M International. It's a science fellowship program to train students and give them research opportunities with USDA labs. So we mark this restricted research?
Yes.
Yes.
We go to page 9, UT El Paso. This is an endowment to support research programs and scholarly pursuits together with also teaching. So do we mark this restricted research?
Yes, it's an endowment.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, very well. We go to 80693, Texas State. This project looks at, they're looking how children respond to a certain curriculum concerned with the standard responsibility protocol. So it looks like this is research into curriculum development, if I understand that right.
Correct. Yeah.
Yes.
So we mark it restricted research. UT San Antonio 78513. The title is TMD Integrated National Resource Management Plan Support Project, and here they develop procedures for the military, how to do research.
Research.
So I had a question mark there. What is the research, or is this procedure how to do research?
It's the research that the military is doing, so that was not,
Reorg stuff?
so it's helping the military develop the procedures for research to be done in various military installations around the country. It sets the standard for any cultural and natural resource research.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key is the expectations for the integrated natural resources management plan. I mean, it's a requirement of the, I think it's the Antiquities Act. So, I mean, to me, it falls into the same category as most, if not all, of the activities that these centers, the archaeological centers, are engaged in.
So
I guess my only concern with this is, how is it a research project? I see the value of disseminating, the standard, and this is how we should be doing things, but how is that a research project?
So one thing that the Center for Archeological Research is doing is helping the military develop appropriate methods of research that preserve cultural and natural resources. And so it's guiding their methods of research.
So is this something along the lines of instituting a culture of best practice? I guess I don't see where something is collected and disseminated, or somebody from the UT side is learning and promoting from this. That's where I'm lost. I mean, clearly the standards of, the best practices are very important, and this is from the military's perspective, to train them, to teach them, to guide them. But beyond that task, where is the research on the UT side, or am I missing something?
No, I don't think you're missing anything. I think it's the Center for Archaeological Studies is having to look at the type of environment that, the military bases or whatever the military groups are trying to conduct their research in, trying to give them some sort of assessment as to what, they may encounter, what they may have to do. So, I mean, in and of itself, to me, it looks like the UTSA Center is conducting research on how to, they have to receive the information. I mean, it's almost like a consultation is what it kind of seems like, based
Right.
on the information that the military is providing them. And then they're giving back to them, the center is giving back to them protocols on how to conduct the research. But they first have to receive a certain amount of information from the client, so to speak, sponsor. And then under this INRMP protocol, providing feedback or consultation back to the sponsor.
That's what I was thinking too, but then I opened the letter and it looks like pure services. That's what concerns me, because it says it'll include report editing and formatting support.
Yeah, that's not
and the tasks aren't really research, they're really editing type things. Is there something that we're missing in the documentation?
I'm sorry, Katie, can you repeat the last part of that?
Sure. I was just saying, is there something we're missing in the documentation? Because the abstract that was uploaded, which is the letter from the entity, it talks about what the task is to include, and it says report editing and formatting support, but I'm not seeing I'm not seeing any reference to some of the research services, and I'm wondering, are we missing some documentation that would leave that out? Because right now it just looks like some editing services based on the letter.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the use of the staff at the Center for Archaeological Research in being able to make those edits. And I know, the letter seems to focus on the editing part, but you can't edit without knowledge. It's not just, editing sentence structure or anything like that. It's actual content.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the point I was trying to make too. Yeah, it's trying to contextualize it.
Yeah. Well, I'd agree with you, except the very specific items say to ensure consistent style, editing for grammar, punctuation, integrating changes and revisions requested by reviewers. So, like I said, I'm struggling because I want to do this to you, but I'm not seeing that content piece anywhere in this.
Yeah, I understand.
To me, it goes back to the lack of information goes back to the argument we had at the previous meeting on the Six Sigma opportunity, where there's we're going to provide the services of and our institutional knowledge for the Lean Six Sigma process. We're going to put you through it. We're going to evaluate this. We're going to provide you with support, documentation, recommendations. Versus we're doing that, and based on what we went through, the university is then going off and using that experience, that process, in order to us to further our advancement knowledge with our students and within the division of how that process works. Where there's that fork doesn't seem to be there. It seems right now, based on the documentation, all fall on the task order or service order side.
Yeah, and I understand that our documentation doesn't talk about the expertise needed from the Center for Archeological Research rather than just, grammatical editor. Of course, I wouldn't go to the Center of Archeological Research for English grammar editing, but I can understand how the documentation doesn't reflect that.
I'm going to recommend we call for a vote.
Okay. So that is UT San Antonio 78513. And I go down the list. I leave those out which appear not to be there. And then at the end, I will ask if somebody was missed. Angelo State.
Undecided.
Lamar University.
Undecided.
Midwestern.
Undecided.
Sam Houston State.
Undecided.
Stephen F. Austin.
Undecided.
Sewell Ross.
Undecided.
Tarleton State.
No.
A&M International.
Undecided.
A&M Galveston.
No.
A&M Corpus Christi.
Undecided.
A&M Kingsville.
Undecided.
Texas State.
I'm going to vote yes.
Texas Tech.
Undecided.
UT Arlington.
Yes.
UT Dallas.
Yes.
UT El Paso.
No.
UT San Antonio.
We vote yes.
Oh. UT Tyler.
Yes.
UT Permian Basin.
Yes.
UT Rio Grande.
Undecided.
UH.
No.
UH Clear Lake.
Yes.
UH Victoria.
No.
UNT.
Undecided.
West Texas.
No.
So we have 7 yeses, 6 noes, and 12 abstentions. And so the question was, we don't count abstentions, either yes, no, no. So this one would be counted with 7 yeses as restricted research expenditure.
Right.
So we go on to 79310 UT Tyler. This is support to math conference or conferences for students, undergraduate students, so they can present at their math research.
Yes.
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 We mark this restricted research. 80510 Lamar University, synthesis of safety applications in winter weather operations. So they get funded by TxDOT, and they look at some impacts, traffic impacts based on weather.
Yes.
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 We mark this restricted research. We go on to page 10. UT San Antonio, Amatera Headwaters Data Recovery. It's an archaeology project, and it involves archaeological excavations. We mark this restricted research.
Yes.
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 Thank you.
Then we have UT San Antonio, and interestingly also University of Houston with 2 projects for the same amount. They have similar titles. So UT San Antonio is collaborative research engineering identity, its predictors and its impact on retention across educational strategies, and they look into how students carry that identity. Do we mark this as restricted research?
Yes, I like it.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
And then we do the same for the other sub-award. It's an NSF sub-award from UT Austin at University of Houston.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Okay, we go to Texas State 80697. So there is funding for undergraduate students. It's 1 week research experience at UT San Antonio, so that these students go into critical tech fields.
Right.
Yes.
So we mark this restricted research.
Yes.
Yes.
UT El Paso has an endowment for creative writing.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
So I have a question there. What is the research in creative writing?
Historical knowledge, to develop new knowledge.
Reinhold, I don't know enough about the field to be specific. I just know that our very first TRIP-approved project from Texas State was an endowment in creative writing, oddly enough. So that's all I can offer.
But was it research?
I'm sorry?
And that was classified as research?
It was TRIP-approved,
That's interesting. Yes, that helps.
So with regards to research activities for creative writing. Faculty publish with, prominent presses and lead academic organizations and edit respected journals, and they create books, and, and this is their scholarly work.
Yeah, their
This
form
is
of
their
R&D.
production.
Yeah. I just don't know enough specifics. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they're working in poetry, fiction, literary nonfiction,
Right.
criticism, human rights, journalistic writing, genres. I mean, it goes on and on and on. So,
So you're saying that's not research?
No.
No, I'm saying that is research.
Thank you. Yeah, because
that is their scholarly.
Oh, okay, yeah, she was explaining it to me since I asked.
Oh, okay. I thank you.
Oh, okay, so we marked this restricted research.
Yes.
Thank you.
The next one is 80532 Lamar University. It's a study about reduction of rack layer in all water separation systems. That's rack layers are all water solid mixtures, which are undesirable. So
yes.
We can mark this as restricted research.
Mm-hmm.
The next one, 79985 by UTEP, was withdrawn. Then we have 80453 by UT San Antonio with a donor gift used for research purposes for a computer science professor.
So I have a question about this. If, let's just say the original award was for $10,000 and it was fixed price and it was approved at $10,000, but there's 5,800 remaining and it was placed in an account, wouldn't this then be considered a second double counting of that portion of the funding?
Yeah, I see what you're saying now. So these are remaining funds from a fixed price. Yeah, to me they would.
I mean, that's, and I don't know that that's the truth. I'm just asking the question because for us, that's what, we don't count these specifically because we've already counted the original.
Well, for research expenditures, though, for the fixed price award, we would only count what was actually spent.
Exactly. I think this is the eligibility of the expense, so I would have to say yes.
Correct.
So, yeah, what is meant by remaining funds? Why are they listed?
$5,870 remaining, apparently, out of the original fixed price contract. They've put that remaining funds into a gift account, but the institution chose to put it in a gift account, not the original donor. Is that right?
Correct.
So,
yeah, we
so are we saying that the institution did not count the original fixed price contract as restricted research?
For the funds that were not spent, we did not include them in our research expenditures. So if the fixed price award was $10,000 and we did not spend the $10,000, then we wouldn't have said that we had spent $10,000. Only the amount that we did spend was reported as research expenditures.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though. These are awards, not. I mean, we're reporting awards, not expenditures. Am I missing something?
Yeah.
I guess the question is. I see where they have that, Christina. With the fixed price or with the award, because this reporting process doesn't actually count towards what we've actually spent. This is just our disclosure, and what they're saying is if it were $10,000, they only reported $4,300. So it's kind of a moot point if it's been disclosed before, because when it comes to the actual sources and uses report that their accounting office puts in, they're only putting in the amount that was actually spent in the year.
That I follow.
That one I follow too.
Yeah. So you can't bring back.
I think my only concern with it would be that it isn't coming from which I'm guessing it's not, since it was an external sponsor, but not from a prohibited source.
And was the 5,870, which was placed in the gift account for research, was that restricted by the institution, or was that money restricted for research to begin with? By the external unit.
UTEP does not report its residuals from fixed price, even if they were research. We don't report them because they don't qualify as restricted research, because the university declares them to be used for research, but the restriction is gone. We already earned those funds because they're prepaid or because it was flat fee. So the original intent probably was research, but when we transferred into a gift account or whatever, it loses that connection with the original party. But we can designate it internally as research funds, but it's no longer restricted by an outside entity.
We do something similar as well, where we have various sponsor accounts where we have multiple donors that contribute to a principal investigator's research, but we also do use that to capture restricted funds from fixed price contracts, et cetera, because we as an institution keep them restricted to that PI's research.
We treat ours the same way at West Texas.
So at the University of Houston, we have residual accounts very similar to this, but we do not count those because, similar, we've already counted the original award that generated those funds, even though they were remaining from a fixed price, so we don't submit them again.
But they're not getting counted because it really only matters when you spend them.
They're reported as expenditures once they're expended for research, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But they are not reported as an award.
Right.
The residual account is not reported as an award.
So are you saying you don't put it on this list because you've already put it on the list as originally?
As an award from an external sponsor, yes.
But you're still counting it as restricted research when it gets spent?
Correct, because it is restricted for research.
Even in the residual account?
Okay, and if you do continue to put it into a restricted research account, I would agree with that. But to me, if it isn't in an account that does not specifically restrict it to being spent on research, then you've changed the whole field for what it can be used for.
Right, and that's why we have them in these specific accounts that are restricted research accounts.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I jumped in this argument because we've got a bunch of these too. This is UT Arlington responding. I don't know whose we're discussing.
It's UTSA.
Sorry, Mickey.
Yeah, this is 80453 UTSA. Various donors.
Sorry, I'm Barry Lambert here from Tarleton. I think that we're talking about two different things. I think what this committee reviews are the total amounts of the award, right? The total amount at the beginning of the award. Our accounting offices also at the end of the fiscal year report our expenditures, but what this committee reviews are the awards. And I would assume that full 10,000 would have been on this list a couple of years ago. Would that be right?
That's correct, sir.
So from this committee's perspective, the university has already received credit for the full 10,000, and counting this 5,000 or whatever it is again would be double counting. At least that's my understanding. If I'm wrong there, please correct me.
This is Diego Gil from Galveston. I have same concerns with some others. I mean, I cannot point out to one, but I think at some point we might be doing double accounting for these things. So I would just suggest to have a better understanding of the rules of this.
And I guess I'm confused. Why are we worried about counting. I didn't think anything counted excepting the expenditures.
Agreed.
I think that's confusing because you're right. It doesn't count until it is an expenditure. If it hasn't been expended, then it's not counting.
Yeah, and the only thing we're using these dollars for is to get to the 250 that we're really concerned about on the award amounts.
I agree. I think this is eligibility versus.
Yes.
I don't consider it a double counting by presenting a figure twice for eligibility.
So if it has already been presented to the committee, why are you presenting it again?
It is for approval to be able to use these residual funds from a fixed price, restricted research account for restricted research expenditures.
Yeah, so I guess, I'm sorry to
Did the funds get swept? Did the funds get swept up into a new account? Is that why you're kind of considering it separate?
Yes, I think that's what they did. They moved them to a different account to use as restricted research that were residual.
It's no longer going for the exact same project.
That's correct.
It can go for any research project
and
that
many of us
PI can in control of.
Yeah, many of us have policies regarding use of residual funds. We kind of treat ours the way we would use indirect costs, is that they have to be used for research.
Right.
But that's an institutional decision. I just don't see it as a separate award from the original that generated the residual.
Not a separate award. It would just be.
But that's what this committee
the funds are being reclassified to be used for research because they had an account and it closed out whatever the funds that were remaining. They moved it to a different account. They said, okay, funds in this account are now going to be utilized for research purposes, and so they want to get it classified as restricted research in order to count the expenditures from now that account for utilize as the research they're going to be conducting.
I mean, the way I would see it really is you can count the expenditures as total R&D, but I don't know how you can count them as restricted research.
Because at this point, the institution is the one restricting the use, not the external sponsor.
Yeah. You've already satisfied the sponsor's agreement. You didn't use all the money, and so the money that was used, you counted towards restricted research. That's perfectly fine. The residual amount is not a new award, in my view.
Same here.
Right. The source of funds for us is still external. This is not internal funding. This is external funding, and we follow the restrictions. Even though we moved accounts, we follow the restrictions on the original source of funds.
I wouldn't term it as a new award.
Correct. It's the residual of an old award, and then the institution has placed restrictions on the residual. That becomes internal money at the residual stage. You can apply whatever rules you want to apply, but it's the source of the money is now internal, in my view. Not a new award. It's not a new external award.
That's a good point.
Yep. Sounds like we all agree on that aspect.
Right.
Well, I don't think anybody's trying to call it a new award. I think, especially as we look forward in the next couple of years, a couple of our institutions to the audit that's going to take place, we want to make sure that we have disclosed all of the different sources of restricted funding that we're going to be using to make up that $45 million to this committee. So I think that's the purpose. We're not trying to double count it as an award. We're just trying to disclose the different places that these funds are going to be coming from, which include these various sponsor accounts for us, and it looks like for San Antonio as well.
I've got a question. I think it's trying to recognize voices. I'm not sure it was right. I think it was you, Mike, who made the point that this isn't necessarily restricted have a description of a particular project in order to make that determination that it is restricted research.
Yeah, what I was saying.
And that's what kind of hit me all of a sudden.
Counted as a research expenditure towards your total R&D.
Yeah.
But not as a restricted research expenditure.
Okay, so in Uniform Guidance 200-307, there is a reference to program income. And using that reference, we consistently treat any unspent revenue realized from non-federal sponsored projects to be restricted in accordance to Subpart E2. Unspent revenue remaining after project expiration remains restricted to the advancement or general research area of the original award. So we're basing our rationale on the Uniform Guidance.
Yeah, I think the major issue here is that it's not a new restricted research award.
It's not. So are you saying that it shouldn't be reviewed by the committee?
Correct, because according to the SAMs, we are here after each institution submits an annual list of all new restricted research awards, including those not previously submitted or reviewed to the coordinating board. And then that listing is the transparency list that we all review. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I'm just wondering if that's going to fly with the auditors, because we've got all the rest of our, all of our projects are on this list. All the gifts are on the list. These various sponsor accounts are going to be, sorely noticeable as not being on the list as approved. And these gift accounts that we're putting forward are ones that have not been before the committee before. So we've had some already that have been reviewed previously. These are ones that have not been reviewed.
Well, it's just getting more confusing for me. I'm sorry. Because it started as a fixed price contract. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then it got converted to a gift.
Yes.
Who called it a gift?
Well, of course, the institution did.
Yeah, I think that's my understanding as well. And so that's not an outside entity. To me, the stronger argument was the uniform guidance language, and that's the nature of the restriction.
Right.
Stays with the original award, which brings us back to the original argument of why is this on the list?
Well, I think for us at least, I think San Antonio, I know, is on the same accounting system that we are. It would be great if there was another restricted fund option other than gifts or grants, and that's pretty much our options. So, obviously we don't want it in a sponsored project designation because it's outside of the, technically outside the project period, which is why the, less restrictive gift options is what we've chosen for these accounts.
Yeah. But can you give yourself a gift? That's the question.
Well, no, but again, the two options for restricted funds in our accounting system are gifts or sponsored projects. So it's the lesser of two evils. I wish we had a third option of other restricted funds.
Is there any chance the fixed price agreement had any restrictions on how you could use the funds, the residual?
No.
Typically not.
Not.
They're usually not, but I thought I'd ask.
It's an agreement. You can do it for that amount or not, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
because then the question, because what you brought up, Mike, about the gifting it to yourself as an institution, that their institutional funds really had me wondering as well, because did they truly become institutional funds? Did you pay unrelated business income tax on it? Did other accounting factors come into play?
But that would only be if we exceed the threshold for UBIT, and we
Yeah,
don't.
you may or may not
That's
have
true.
to do that. Yeah. Now, I think, part of the line of reasoning, which I really follow. This is new for us. We haven't at Texas State, restricted residual funds. We restrict them to the use of research, but we have not presented them as sort of new awards, so to speak, to recycle back into restricted research expenditures. So it's unfamiliar for me.
Yeah, Sam Houston is the same. We have not counted them heretofore.
Well, to me, it's
Same
not.
with the University of Houston.
It's not recycling, but it's not exactly the same though, because didn't University of Houston just say that they're still counting the residual funds as restricted research? They're just not putting them back on the list.
We are let me give you what our policy. I'm pulling it up here actually. They are restricted by the university as research expenditures. So my apologies that I said restricted on that. That I said restricted restricted research. The university restricts it as research expenditures.
So is that restricted research or not restricted research?
They would be I believe it would be reported. I'm trying to pull up a different report that we do report them as restricted research expenditures. But because there are, and this is in our own guidelines that, let me go back down here. Okay, the funds transferred to the residual cost center are no longer subject to the terms and conditions of the original award. MAP policies that apply to the use of local funds also govern the use of residual funds. We are very specific that it is a research expenditure and it is restricted to research, but we don't count this as a award. The restricted research cost center, it's not recognized as an award.
So you count them as restricted research. You just have not put them in front of the Transparency Committee.
As an award, correct? Because if it was a fixed price award, it would have already shown up on our transparency list from the sponsor that gave it to us.
Total amount, right?
Right.
The total possible amount.
Mm-hmm.
So for us at UTSA, I think what we'll do is just write an SOP related to this discussion and reference maybe some minutes. I don't know if we're going to have minutes this detailed in the committee, but reference that for the future audit.
One of the somebody else had mentioned it. I'm assuming it was San Antonio, but one of the things that I think I heard was that we've had these go through before. When it states on there that the sponsor is various donors or it's various donors, to me that implies that somebody has given money for this purpose, whatever this purpose is. Whereas this, when you read the description, is the university has placed these restricted research funds, basically from a fixed price award, into this account for the use of research.
And that was me. That was Arlington that said that. And what we do is for a single individual PI's research endeavors, we have both small donations for that person and these residual restricted funds.
And they all go in account 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yes, restricted for research.
Restricted for research by whom? That's the question.
Well, I don't think that's the question because it sounds like everybody else is doing it. They're just not putting it on the list.
As a new award.
Correct.
Exactly.
I mean, if when the auditors get here and they start questioning me, can I call you guys? Can we have a new conference call?
I'm happy to be there for you. The University of Houston will be happy to help.
Okay. All right. Yes.
What we may do is get a couple people of you together to write up the issue and the statement, and then we include that in SAMS and bring it to the committee next year.
Fair enough.
Yes, this is
Stephen F. Austin State University, and I just checked with our controller's office, and they said that as far as the expenditures go from our fixed price residual funds, it's included in the total, but it's also then subtracted out on another line. So we would like guidance, too, as to whether those should be counted.
Yeah, so there seems to be some different different procedures or processes or ways to look at this. And so we probably should discuss this and come up with, because I don't think we can come up with that recommendation over the phone. So we have to think about it and then get together, come up with defining the issues and giving a recommendation, and that we can then look at together when we're back in a group.
Specifically about the use of residuals, correct?
Right. So that's how, so to me, I have to admit, this is a new wrinkle. But the way I understand it is, yes, you have some kind of award, and then the award is over, but you have leftover money, and you're allowed to do something with that. And does this still count as the original award, or is that then a new award, or is it what you do with the money, because you're free to do with the money whatever you like? It's restricted by yourself, or you can't do something, whatever you like with it. So those are the questions.
Well, but I mean, I think if I understood the uniform guidance, the original restriction stays with the residual. I'm sorry, I'm using all these words.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it then becomes, are the residuals, in fact, new awards to be presented? Right,
or is it just another expenditure of the award, basically? You have leftover money and you expend it in this way.
So in terms of this specific item that we're discussing, are you asking UTSA to withdraw this, or are we going to vote on this one?
I can move over there.
Well, I don't think we should vote on it because it sounds like it shouldn't have been put forward to begin with.
Well, that's the debate, yeah.
I don't want to speak for the institution, but perhaps what they're wanting to hear is a no vote and a rationale as to why, so that they have something to hang their hat on rather than them just withdrawing it. Am I hearing that correctly?
Speaking for Arlington, yes, that would be fantastic.
So it sounds like what they would like is a call to vote, just so that they have something to hang their hat on.
Is that what we should do?
As long as there is justification documented about why it was a no, that would be fine. If not, we should withdraw.
Well, I don't think we're voting yes or no. I think we're voting on the fact that we're not voting because everybody's just saying it shouldn't have been brought forward and they're counting them anyway.
Okay.
Particularly if you were going to develop a process to include language where right now we feel like either Sam's is silent or doesn't cover this adequately. We're kind of in a quandary.
Yeah, so I think voting a no may not help. I don't see how it helps the institution.
On RTA, we can't make a decision one way or the other until we have clear guidance, agreed upon guidance.
So then we table?
I don't know what else to do. I don't know.
I agree. Until we make a decision on how we're going to treat these, how can we vote?
Yes, I agree. And then also it just states research purposes, so I think we need to probably be a little bit clearer on what they're actually going to be used for.
Pardon me, can you speak up, please?
As it also states research purposes, but is there anything more general that the funds will be utilized for?
You mean more specific, because research purposes is pretty general.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you're right.
The other way, yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was too general. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's an important question, guys. I mean, I think it's, I don't know how many dollars it's going to translate into, but, it's an important question. It's a new question.
Right, and so that's, in terms of this award, it's not that much dollars, but there are others we know or we assume.
Yeah.
And so we will look into that. So the question is, what is the best way, in terms of this dollar amount, how to best proceed with this award, because this is the time to deal with this award. And so we have three choices. The institution could withdraw it, waiting for, how to deal with all this type of awards. We could vote no, I don't know, because we don't think it's another award. Or if it is another award, it wouldn't be restricted by external entity. But all these things we think are not quite right. So we don't want to vote no. We could also mark this particular one yes and leave it at that. And then go forward with our statement and adjust what everybody does with the dollars actually, how they deal with the expenditures, because we have heard some people reported as restricted research, even though there's no award. Some people may not, and some people back it out. Or institutions back it out. So there is no uniform way, from what I hear, how institutions react to the actually expenditures either. So we need to know that to do it correctly or uniformly across the state, and that's what we will be working on then. So if we mark this one yes, I think there is no harm done, because it's for this particular $5,000 or $6,000, and we have the intent not to set a precedent for X million dollars who are similar.
Right. No, the only way I can agree with that is because the original award was presented and approved. So. Right.
So
that's why I could accept
and you can't double expend anyway. So the question is, should institutions like Sam Houston just back it out or not? So that is a question down the road.
Yeah.
And probably we should know that by December or November when we make the sources and users reports.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the committee's preference in terms of these three choices?
This is the only one of these examples that we have right now. I haven't seen anything before this.
I've got a bunch on my list.
This year?
Yeah.
Okay. That complicates things.
Since we haven't been doing any type of voting on these before, and it sounds like everybody has some of these, I'm not sure we ought to be voting one way or the other on these, because we don't have this agreement on how we're going to treat it.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
Yes, I agree.
I guess we could leave it questionable.
Well, but I don't like that either, because, I mean, if we call it questionable, then the auditors are going to say it's questionable.
Right. So, I mean, in some way, we do have to find a resolution, of course. But then you could withdraw it, this one award, and then depending on what the result is from the detailed decision, then everybody, you would treat these kinds of awards like everybody else. And then that would be the documentation for the auditors.
Who read the statement from the uniform guidance?
I did.
What was that reference?
Find it again. Sorry, hold on.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's going to be the strongest defense for counting it as a restricted research expenditure.
I agree.
And I'm making that distinction expenditure because the award was created before the residual was reviewed by the committee. So, I mean, I think we have, we're trying to maybe have cake and eat it too. I mean, I understand, I want to count them as restricted research expenditures as well. And I think the way to do that possibly is the uniform guidance language. I think that's what I want to really hone in on.
The reference.
I'm still stuck on the double counting, because if the entire award was already counted, then we are double counting here. Yeah, you got that reference up?
Yeah, well, the double counting part, I mean, nobody really cares about counting anything until it comes to expenditures. So that's why we're not double counting it, because we didn't spend it the first time.
That's correct.
The reference is 200-307 E2.
200-307
E2.
What two?
E is in Igor, egg.
Okay. E2. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so yeah.
Okay, but going back to the expenditure versus award issue, most of the awards that we're evaluating haven't been completely spent yet. We might have just gotten these 3 months ago. So we're not evaluating what a balance of award or what's been spent today. We're evaluating the award itself, which is where the double counting, I think, discussion was that I brought forth, which was if the original award from the external sponsor for $10,000, let's say, was approved last year, and this $5,000 and change was what remains, and we have an institution has placed this in a gift account for use for research, that would not be considered a new award from an external sponsor.
They're here.
And what we're evaluating is not whether it's a restricted research expenditure so much. We're evaluating does it classify as a new restricted research award from an external sponsor? And that's what the SAM guides us on for what we're doing today. That's my understanding. I may be completely off.
I think that's clear, and I think a lot of people see that. I think the question that's really relevant to Arlington and anybody else is how do we treat the expenditure? And if the uniform guidance says that the restriction from the original follows all the way through, then I think that's helpful.
But how can you do that if you're taking 10 different awards, the balance of 10 different awards with perhaps 10 different types of restrictions, and combining them into one account?
I think it will boil down to the policy of the institution.
Correct.
Well, and I think it would behoove us to consult with some of the folks in accounting, because from an accounting perspective, my understanding is that once a fixed price award is completely expended and the funds are moved, those become the institution's funds. They are no longer restricted by the external funder. And so you change the nature of the funds.
And I agree with that, because in our institution, once it's a residual, it just belongs to the department or whoever the entity on campus is the one that is going to be responsible for managing those funds.
Well, I think this gets back to the policy institution, because, if your policy of your institution is says that, then that's fine, but ours doesn't.
Yeah, and I think it's important that the institution follows the UG, which allows for that.
Yeah, and please forgive me, I can't write down fast enough. What's the page number again? I think that's really important. The UG is going to be really important.
What we're taking it from is the argument under program income, which is 200-307.
307.
Subpart E2.
Subpart E.
E is an egg. Number 2.
307.
My only concern with that, though, is that has to do specifically with program income, and I would not exactly conflate residual on a fixed price agreement with program income, and that has to do with the additive method. So a funder could require the deductive method, for example, so I'm not sure it's a really good analogy.
Yeah, it's not what I would classify as program income either.
So, Sarah, what kind of income are you counting it as?
We're just, in our policy on this, we reference that, we're continuing to keep the funds restricted consistent with the federal government's advice or regulations on program income, whereby, if you have program income left over, you have to, you can use it after the end, it can still be restricted, it has to be used for the award. So we're using that as a rationale for our treatment of our fixed price.
And that's why I could follow it as you can keep counting the expenditures.
Right.
But the award has expired.
Right.
Or has already been reviewed and approved.
Right.
I mean, I think, like I said, I don't have a problem with calling it a restricted research expenditure, I guess. But is it a new award? That's the take home.
Well, maybe the committee, and this is UTSA talking, so it's up to the committee, but maybe you guys can request that we not report these to the Transparency Committee, given that it's not a new award, and I think I'm hearing general agreement of that, and that we tabled the discussion for this one, because I can tell you that we only have this one on our list.
Well, but there are others, right? And I think there would be many others once we get a determination one way or the other.
Because I know for the sake of time, we need to move on to the rest of the list.
Well, that is the crux of the thing. If it is a new award, then we have the problem that the institution puts the restrictions on it and not an external entity. If it is part of the old award, then it would still have the original restriction on it. So how to treat this, that's the question. And other people have something to say in this, I hear, because accounting also is involved with closing of awards and award periods, et cetera. So I don't think it's a trivial
No, it's not trivial at all.
question. And and maybe that the AGMs can give us some good guidelines, but I certainly can't read this that quickly to see that, because there's a context for the AGMs as well, which we have to understand. But it's in everybody's interest to find out more about this. So that's why I said, voting no is probably not in the interest. There is no double counting of expenditures. There's only a question if the expenditures are still okay. So in that term, if you vote yes on it, it would not be double counted, but it would, would be okay to pull these dollars into the restricted research total. But other people do it without having the separate grant. So withdrawing would be an option too, and we have to work this out. And probably we don't have the whole year for this, so we would have to do something special for it. And that is requires that we get the information together. Maybe we ask you what are your procedures at your institutions so that we have comparisons, and then we have to look at the details, what we think is the right way to treat this.
So what do we do?
I'm more comfortable with it being withdrawn.
I am too.
We agree.
I agree.
Me
Yes.
too.
Agree.
Yes.
Yes, agree.
Agree.
Okay, so if that is amenable with UT San Antonio under the knowledge that we are going to get to work on this, is that how we should proceed?
Yes, we withdraw.
This is in a way a very interesting question because it is not easy to solve. So please expect that we get in touch with you and think about it and talk to your colleagues at your institution as well, because most of you have other people who can probably give valuable input, and then we'll try to pool all this and come up with something of value. And then if we do that, then we put it in SAMS, and hopefully that shouldn't take all too long, and maybe we have to have another meeting for it if it is important enough. You may want to go look at your own data and see what the impact is in terms of dollars, because I got the feeling that we don't know this at this point, and you probably don't know this offhand either, but it may be good to know what is the impact on this.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to count them as restricted research expenditures, so that the question is, if I'm understanding, what is the restriction in use of residual funds from fixed price contracts? Right?
Okay, yeah, I guess
Make a
that's.
motion to take a 5-minute break.
Yeah, let's take a break and get together at 2:25.
Agreed.
UT Arlington. That is similar to the drone or it's the same project with a super sensor on a drone we had before.
We already addressed that one.
So we mark this one also as restricted research. 79876 was withdrawn. 79770 by UT San Antonio is an architectural project to look into building expansion.
Let me let you know that the information that I have on this is that it's a study that will focus on refining proposed innovation, building complex, and the Department of Defense building expansion potential that's enclosed by existing security fence. It is by the College of Architecture here. There is no IRB or any other protocol.
So how do you all feel about it?
No, we don't get a lot of architecture research. I'm just not knowledgeable enough.
The budget's pretty slim, but it has a PI and a research scientist on it.
Uh-huh. It's just personnel?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And few supplies, travel.
Right.
So,
I mean, the only verb I have here is to refine the proposed innovation building. To refine. I mean, I can infer a lot of things.
right.
But I don't, it's not like, we've had a lot of archaeology this year, right? We've had them in the past. And so I think we've all gotten kind of real calibrated as to, what those reports mean and what those, those various filings and editings and all of that. I don't know what constitutes applied architecture research. It seems that that's what this is. It's applied architecture.
I think the question is more: is it a project for a client, or is it research as we look at it, which is for general use and purpose?
No, I think it can be both. And that.
Well, it could be both, but what is it?
Both. I don't know.
Or are you saying it is both?
I'm saying it can be both, and there's no reason it doesn't have to be both.
So this kind of seems like it might be services. Is there plans to publish the results?
In the scope, it says they're going to produce digital images for marketing purposes. And using SketchUp modeling software, Illustrate, and present planning options.
Mm-hmm. Well, the options have to be based on some kind of research or some kind of informed decision.
So I guess beyond revising, and I'm sorry I didn't write down the specific verbiage, but beyond revising a set of plans or architectural design, how is this solving practical problems of the modern world when it comes to architecture? How is knowledge being acquired beyond what appears to be a request from the sponsor to provide diagrams, documentation, sketches, models of a new improved version of their original plan.
Well, it wasn't their plan, it's the sponsor's plan, Department of Defense.
And their plan meaning the sponsor.
Right.
I mean, I guess it comes back to, you know, where is it a problem facing a society or, you know, a larger issue rather than just, and I'm going to go back to the fee for service or, you know, a task order, hey, we need your expertise to fix this or to enhance this. You know, we expect these drawings, this model, these plans at the end of this contract or award.
Yeah, that's correct assumption, and I don't have any additional.
Yeah, but what often gets left out of those agreements is the implicit research that has to go into providing whatever the service might be requesting. I mean, a lot of times it's easy to view these as the services are research services.
Right. And
not the report, right? But the knowledge content and the knowledge expertise to make an informed decision based on that discipline.
Right, and this is College of Architecture and Construction Planning.
Right.
So, you know, in terms of a department or a college within a research institution, that's just one thing that is implicit. It wouldn't come to us if they didn't expect it to be based in research applications.
My only issue is there's not enough information to sway me one way. I mean, we have a College of Architecture and Design within the University of Houston. Mm-hmm. There are fee-for-services, and then there is research. This, to me, sounds more like we want to hire you and your expertise in order to develop, design, plan, whatever the scope is of the project. To me, if the way it's presented here, the documentation that you've given us so far, we would not have classified this as restricted research.
Agree.
So what shall we do?
I think we need to vote.
Okay, that's award 79770. I'll go like before down the list. Angela State.
No.
Lamar.
No.
Midwestern.
No.
Sam Houston.
No.
Stephen F. Austin.
No.
Sue Ross. Sue Ross. Tarleton State.
No.
Texas A&M International.
No.
Texas A&M Galveston. Texas A&M Corpus. Texas A&M Kingsville. Texas A&M San Antonio. Yes. Texas A&M Texarkana. Oh no, they're gone. Texas State.
As written, I'll have to abstain.
Texas Tech.
No.
Texas Women's. There's one not there. UT Arlington.
Abstain.
UT Dallas. UT El Paso.
No.
UT San Antonio.
We were trying for yes.
Oh. UT Tyler.
Abstain.
UT Permian Basin.
Abstain.
UT Rio Grande. University of Houston.
No.
UH Clear Lake.
No.
UH Downtown. Oh, UH
No.
Victoria.
No.
UNT.
Abstain, not quite enough information.
West Texas.
No.
So I have 2 yeses, 13 noes, and 5 abstentions. 1 yes? Oh, I mistook again, Texas A&M San Antonio. Sorry, I made the same mistake before. Okay, so we mark this as no. UT San Antonio 78889, it's additional contract like 78888, which you voted restricted research.
Right.
So we mark this restricted research as well.
Yes.
So then we're on page 12, UT San Antonio, archaeological research at the Hookley Cemetery, survey and background investigation. We should mark that restricted research.
Yes.
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 UT San Antonio 78366, it's a task order with the Southwest Research Institute. We mark this restricted research.
Yes, Southwest Research.
Yeah.
Yes.
Texas Tech University 78683, it's VR signals. So they're getting MLS data and investigating economic indicators, and they will publish most likely. So we mark this restricted research.
Yes.
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 Texas State University 80706. So this is a project to look at effectiveness of an intervention program, and they do that at a summer camp with children who play some kind of music.
I did confirm we have the IRB on that, and I think what's also relevant is the exact project last year is just a different sponsor.
Oh, okay.
And if this was just for a summer camp, I don't see that there would be a need for an IRB, so clearly there's a research component to it.
Yeah, now the key here is autistic children, not just children. Yeah.
Autistic children. Yeah, but so what wasn't clear to me is the $4,000 is for the research and also for the camp or for the whole thing?
Well, I think you have to have the camp to collect the data. You have to have the camp to attract the kids to collect the data.
Yeah, you do have to have the camp, but this money also pays for, but okay. So we mark this yes?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Okay. 80708, also Texas State. This project develops a program to promote well-being, and they have a survey and a hypothesis which they want to test in conjunction with that program.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we mark this restricted research. Then we have Midwestern State University 78271. This is a sabbatical on Maui for a couple of faculty, a 14-day sabbatical for their creative endeavors and research.
And I actually do have details on the specific project that's being done this year, because I recognize that this project probably wouldn't count every year, or this award wouldn't count every year. But this professor, and this was uploaded with the abstract, is doing field research basically on Hawaiian music and dance that will be incorporated into her existing research on teaching methodology for children in music.
Yes.
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 Okay, we mark this restricted research. Then we have UT San Antonio, another task order to support another graduate student at the Southwest Research Institute. We mark this a yes.
Yes.
The next one, 78406, was withdrawn. Then we have Texas State University. It's work for TextDot, curation and antiquities collection. I think we had a similar one before.
That's two, yeah.
So we mark this as a yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Texas Tech. It's a restricted gift for a graduate fellowship in economics. It's a graduate fellowship, so we should mark it as, pursuing research in economics. So we are marking this as restricted research.
Yes.
Yes.
78773 was withdrawn. 80373 UT Arlington. It says it's restricted funds for research in advanced materials and structures. But I couldn't find dates and by whom it was. Is it externally restricted?
It's a gift fund.
A gift?
Yes.
So it's a donor fund, a donor restricted.
More than 50% of the funds are used for research. We checked with the principal investigator. So it's 12222. And this, I think, is probably one of our various sponsor accounts.
It's what?
One of our various sponsor accounts, the issue we were just discussing with UT San Antonio. The residual funds.
Uh-huh.
So I guess we're withdrawing it.
Okay. So 80373 is withdrawn. 79854, UT San Antonio. This looks like, from what I read, that this is assessment of an academic enrichment program, probably at UT, by psychology, doing statistical methods.
Yeah.
So we mark this restricted research.
Yes.
So now it's 80377 UT Texas Arlington, TexMed Research
That
Center.
one was previously reviewed by the Transparency Committee in 2012, 18599.
Which one are we doing? I'm sorry.
UT Arlington.
Pardon me?
Oh, I got you. We're on the bottom of page 13.
On the bottom of page 13, 80377.
Previously approved. I don't see why it would be different.
Yep.
Yeah.
Are you saying this project has the same scope and is the same type of project than reviewed in 2012?
Yes.
It's not. Okay. So we mark this restricted research.
Yes.
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 So then we move to page 14. UTEP, an endowment for electrical engineering, and TRIP is applied for reasonably. So we.
Not at $2,400, is it?
Oh.
That'd be $100,000 to be TRIP eligible. It could be an endowment. I don't know.
This is Manuela. In regards to this, what they did is they put it into a gift account, and they're drawing interest on it and providing the interest to be spent.
Sure, that's how endowments. Yeah, that's how endowments work. So the original endowment would have been approved. We're not really approving
the interest.
Interest, yeah.
That could possibly be an error on my part, because we only picked up the 30 account with the active money in it. But it is a new award. Dr. Pierluisi, he gifted the university $100,000, and we did apply for TRIP on that. It's a new award, right? I'm not, and it's restricted as stated in the
Well, it's for graduate fellows. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, all that's fine. It's just,
The 2417 isn't TRIP matchable.
Well, that's not TRIP matchable, nor is it an award. It's
that's where I'm trying to dig down
money
to.
that the endowment generated to be spent.
Yeah.
That's why we approved the maximum amount. Say it was $100,000. That's fine. You're not
Yes,
gonna spend
that was a typo on my part. I just picked up the interest-bearing account. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I did not pick up the original award amount of $100,000.
There you go. There you go.
Now, who's speaking?
It's Mike Blanda, yeah.
You giving me a hard time, darn it?
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
So it's the endowment of they didn't call it. Dr. Pierluisi, the donor, did not call it an endowment. Oh, yeah, he did, too. Dr. Pierluisi Graduate Fellowship Endowment shall be permanent endowment and shall be used for the benefit of the department. I guess I did not put one and one together because the official record that was provided to me when we first put in the transparency report, okay, we just picked up the interest. We did not pick up the, and then I don't look at the numbers. I just look at justification. You know what I mean? So I'm sorry, this is a typo on my part. The endowment was for $100,000.
So you're saying you will change the amount number for this?
Yeah.
Okay, so Mike did you a big favor here.
Thank you, Mike.
The other $98,000, yeah.
Do I have to say thank you 98,000 times?
No, not that many times.
Well, it's one heartfelt thank you. Appreciate enough.
That's okay. Looks like the next one's going to be the same thing.
Yeah, I'm a little hangry, I think. You know, I'm hungry. We haven't had lunch yet over here, so I hope we all had.
So knowing that 79747 will be corrected by UTEP to state that it is an endowment of $100,000, everything else remains the same. Are we voting yes on restricted research?
Yes.
Yes, pending the change.
Yes.
Thank you. How do I change the 100,000?
Yeah, you sent us an email that you would like to do that.
Okay, fair enough. I'll send a support documentation as well, so there's no doubt.
There you go.
Thank you.
And so the next one, 79748, may be similar?
Manuela.
Yes, we're looking. No, what happened? Engineering education, Roger V. Gonzalez. It's an endowment. And it's not TRIP eligible, it's just an endowment. Okay, well, what we have here too is the original endowment or corpus may have been approved. We don't know, but due to change in deans and due to change in title or designation by the new dean, we have two of them. They set up a new account, a new project ID or a new cost center. These are coming out of our gift section, out of our AMD. So, which one are we looking at? We're looking at Roger V. Gonzalez, Donna, Kylie, and Bobby P. endowed fund for Dr. So, yes, this is another one that we caught in the new award list and didn't pay attention to it, where the endowment is probably already been approved in prior rounds, but because it was a new setup of the distribution of the interest, we picked it up as a new account, a new project.
So if I'm understanding what you're saying correctly, you're not saying that the corpus money was donated during this time frame.
This money was not donated. The corpus was not donated in this time frame. No, we picked up the income account.
So
then you want to withdraw this one?
I want to withdraw it. Okay. So
that was a question, not a demand.
That was easy.
You used your Jedi powers on that one, right? These aren't the droids you're looking for, right?
Okay, the way it's very hard.
Withdraw that one.
Okay, 79748 is withdrawn.
Yeah.
78309 Sam Houston, it's a field research to survey bees.
Yes.
Yes.
And the big thicket. So we mark this restricted research. 79934 was withdrawn. 79426 is Texas Tech with a QuarkNet, which is funded flow-through funding from NSF for particle physics. So we mark this restricted research.
Yes.
Texas University at Arlington, that's an economic study of management and government.
Actually, not an economic study, it's a research administration study.
Research administration. Yes, that makes more sense.
A research administration study.
Yes, Jeremy is being funded by, sorry, give me one second, let me bring up the abstract. He got an award along with a couple other vice presidents in research administration from the IBM Center for Business Government.
Okay. Is that enough to market restricted research?
And he's, sorry, so the IBM Center for Business Government, Global Business Services provides us with a research stipend of $20,000 to conduct a research project relating to the study of management and government, the project. That's out of the contract, and then, let me see, there's a little blurb about it on the website. Eliminating organizational relief. The report will facilitate the development of a roadmap to modernize the administration of federally funded research projects. It will highlight the benefits and the need to establish consistency standards for the administrative programmatic amongst federal grant-making agencies.
Yeah, that sounds good. It's general.
Okay, so we mark this restricted research.
Yeah, I think
Yes. Yes.
80391 was withdrawn. 78696 UT San Antonio. Center of Community and Business Research to determine economic impact of operation and capital expenditures to the sponsor's activity. So it is economic research.
Mm-hmm.
And there are two more of the same type on the next page, 78317 and 79627, which do the same thing. It appears, but for different sponsors. So we probably, or you probably should consider them together. So that's 78696 on page 14, and 78317 and 79627 on page 15.
And I haven't skipped ahead to those. You said they're different sponsors?
Well, the title is different, and I assume that those are related to the title. One title is Standard Aero, the next one is Metalsa Analysis, and then Accenture Federal Services.
Right. Yeah, I could see how, the researcher could, get from these separate sponsors, provide them with whatever report that they were expecting, and then bundle the whole thing up as a study. So.
Is there any restriction on use of the data?
There you go. Yeah. If there was an NDA, then maybe not so much.
We'll check the contract. Yeah, that's for these. It'll take us a few minutes to pull that up.
Sure.
Okay, we'll go on and we go back to those three later.
Good.
There's 80404 UT Arlington. It's another TexMed collaborative research.
Sorry. I'm sorry, Cornelia. We actually, I copied and pasted this on the only one that was TexMed was that original one. All the rest of these are different, so I apologize.
Oh, okay.
So this one is a gift from 2019 data to be used for research. We confirmed it with the principal investigator that more than 50% is being used as research.
It's a gift.
Yes, it's a gift.
So, and the reference to 2012 is that they made a gift then and now they make a gift again?
No, the reference from 2012 was a copy and paste error on my part.
Oh, okay. That
So
was.
I apologize for that.
Okay, I understand.
This is one of the, for the smaller ones, we went through and asked the principal investigators to confirm that the more than 50% of the research funds in the gift were being used for research, and they confirmed that it was.
Okay, so it's a donor gift restricted to research for $1,000. Okay, so we mark this as restricted research?
Yes.
Everybody okay?
Yes.
78236, Texas A&M Commerce. This project has IRB review, and it's student research that was competitively given out.
Research.
So we mark it as restricted research. 80078 is another Texas Tech QuarkNet, which we had a parallel award on the previous page. So we also mark this restricted research. 80030 is UT Arlington. It's U.S. Army REAP program. It's research experience, I think, in the math department for better understanding of STEM.
Correct.
So this would be research experience, research training, and so we would mark that as restricted research.
Yes.
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 Okay. UT San Antonio, the next twos, which we got back to, then 78457. It's UT San Antonio. The title is Being a Research Mentor, and in this, the funding is for a professor to learn research mentoring techniques.
There is a provision, I don't have it right in front, there's a provision in the SAM that allows travel awards if the purpose is for research.
Yeah, this person didn't put a SAM on this one, but that would fall under the realm of training the team, helping him to become a better trainer of research mentors.
Either one, yeah, I see it as the research, I see it as a travel grant for research.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I had categorized it as 1.4, 1.1.
Yeah.
I personally don't see what research is being done since the professor learns to learn research mentoring. He's not researching.
Well, that's an important research skill, just like learning how to run an instrument would be.
Who's the sponsor? I'm sorry, I can't find it.
The award is 78457.
It says the American Philosophical Association.
So I seem to hear that you think.
I mean, the way I'm interpreting it is under the travel grant allowance, it's to enable this professor to travel to learn how to be a research mentor. So I see the connection to research. He may not or she may not necessarily be actively researching, but the award is to support research.
Exactly. I'm supposed to support the research that's going to be.
The funds seem to be designed to support training for someone to learn how to do research mentoring. That's how I'm reading it.
Yeah, I understand. To learn, to be trained.
Right.
I'm not dismissing the underlying research for it.
So would it matter if this was a biology professor who was visiting another institution to learn surgical techniques on animals?
No, but that's
and
different.
Train their students when they come back here? I mean, I'm trying to draw parallels. You know, philosophy is a little different than biology, of course, but the techniques that are needed in that field would be similar.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I think research training is something that graduate students.
But that's the point that the philosophy professor is going in order to be able to train students as researchers.
The way I'm reading this, and I don't have the other documentation in front of me, is to learn mentoring techniques. And I see the correlation where you're coming from it with regards to training a biology faculty member how to use a particular tool or some sort of expanding his or her repertoire. But this is how to mentor, not how to research philosophy or how to better communicate. I don't know how to communicate that part of it.
Still hanging on is, you're right, it is for mentoring, but it's mentoring research techniques, or research within philosophy. I keep getting.
Well, but the abstract that the person provides really kind of suggests that it's more about, because the big thing, be better prepared to engage with the challenges and help our undergraduate philosophy students participate in diversity initiatives, which is a great thing to do, but I don't see a whole lot about the training in scholarly activity or research mentorship. Yeah. It seems more general.
Sounds more like professional development for the faculty member.
So is the training focus on mentoring techniques or research, or mentoring research techniques to learn how to?
As a researcher.
That's what I'm having a little bit of struggle with, is to tease out whether this person is learning how to become a researcher in mentoring, or this is a really just training in mentoring. I don't have enough information to really. I wish I can go either way.
Some of it depends on where the word research appears.
That's exactly what I'm focusing on. And if it was after the word mentoring, advanced mentoring research techniques, that makes it clear that we're talking about research techniques, so as opposed to mentoring techniques. We're nitpicking this, but I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. I'm just using what I have, the few words that I have here, to make an inference as to what this could possibly be, where the real focus is.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I see it as a training opportunity for the faculty member that in some way translates into an enhanced research experience for the student. That's the best I can.
Correct.
That's the best I can present it.
And again, I would agree with you, except when I read the abstract, the individual talks about enhancing experience and skills to meet our student-specific needs, explore how I might be able to initiate a local MAP, Minorities in Philosophy, local chapter. So it sounds a little more student services and student engagement focused as opposed to research.
And I don't know that the MAP chapter is the majority, or if that was just thrown in as, a side benefit of this travel. I really believe that the focus is learning how to be a better research mentor, so mentoring students in how to do research. At the MAP is a very small piece of that.
Seems like we've exhausted the discussion.
I think we should vote on this one.
Yeah.
Okay. 78457. Angela State.
Undecided.
Lamar.
Abstain.
Midwestern.
Abstain.
Sam Houston.
Abstain.
Stephen F. Austin.
Undecided.
Talton.
No.
A&M International.
Yes.
A&M Galveston. Oh, sorry. I think Texas State.
Yes, but I'm going to do it under the travel. I'm trying to
It's
find
just yes or no.
4.1, yes.
It's just yes or no. Texas Tech.
Undecided.
Arlington.
Yes.
El Paso.
No.
San Antonio.
Yes.
Tyler.
Abstain.
Permian Basin. University of Houston.
No.
UH Clear Lake.
No.
UH Victoria.
No.
UNT.
No.
West Texas.
No.
Did I hear this correct, that Sam Houston abstained?
Yes.
Oh, right. Did I miss somebody? Yes. Hold on.
Yes, Kingsville, undecided.
Kingsville. Sorry about that.
Sol Ross. Galveston, Texas A&M Galveston. Texas A&M Commerce. Texas A&M Corpus.
Undecided.
A&M San Antonio. A&M Texarkana. Texas Southern University. Texas Women's University. UT Dallas.
Abstain.
UT Rio Grande.
No.
Or no. Okay. University of Houston downtown.
No.
Thank you.
So We have 4 yeses, 9 noes, and 10 abstentions. Okay, we have one left on this page, 78372. That's Sam Houston State University. And that's HMGB1 signaling. And this project...
Yes.
Yes.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. The remaining awards on page 16 from UT Arlington all have either $0 in the award or negative dollars. And so we would like to know how that works.
These, I think, these are all of our, and again, I'm sorry about copying and pasting the wrong thing on everything, but the top, let's see, 3 of them, those are all of the various sponsor accounts that we were discussing before. And although there are negative expenditures in them for this year, we wanted them to be reviewed in anticipation of an audit. The same thing for the endowed chair. There's negative expenditures on it this year, but we did want it to be voted on. So I guess can I withdraw the first 3 and then get review of the endowed chair?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
the cut and paste didn't help. I mean, we just don't have any information.
but
Well,
the question is, this list shouldn't have expenditures on them. This is an award amount.
Awards. Yeah.
For the most part, well, all of our projects that we have, we do use awards. And for a lot of the information all the information that we do for gifts, like we do how much money we've received in a certain year for a gift.
Right.
But, again, I mean, we're kind of cleaning house here and looking to see if there's been anything that we have expended or activity on in a given fiscal year that hadn't been reviewed by this committee. So we wanted to make sure that everything we were planning on using has been reviewed by the committee. So I apologize for that, but, lack of better information, we just wanted to get it in front of you guys.
Okay, now let me ask a question. So last year, let's say there was a $10,000 expenditure on here, but you can't report those dollars because they were a past year. So we're reviewing a negative?
Well, for the various sponsor accounts, we're arguably saying that those didn't need to be reviewed anyway. So, but for the endowed chair part, what we do is we take a look at what gifts we've received during a given year. So we had always done it that way before. This year, I went ahead and just looked at the GL activity and compared it to what we've submitted to the committee since 2005. So I'm just filling in holes.
So you're saying that you want to take credit for expenditures in prior years on projects that hadn't been approved in those years?
No, I'm saying that from this point forward, I want it to be reviewed and approved by the Transparency Committee. That way, if we do have expenditures on them either this year or next, you've seen them, and they've been approved.
But we haven't seen
that doesn't explain the negative dollar amount. That's what's confusing.
The negative dollar amount is because, as I said, what we've done in previous years is, so I get, our new award list from sponsored projects, and then I get whatever gifts we've received for the given year. And we take that information and submit it to you all. What I was trying to do for this year in preparation of, hopefully reaching the 45 million was comparing what we've submitted in previous years to everything in our GL that would be considered a research expenditure. So anything that hadn't been before this committee before, I just grabbed the data from the GL.
It's not an award, though.
Okay, so as I said, most of these are those rollover accounts. So I'm withdrawing most of them. The endowment, which is 80447, that one is not. And that one, unfortunately, this year did have a negative expenditure, but it is an endowed chair, and we intend to fill it.
Well, what's
So
the amount
in
that endowment?
I'm sorry?
What was the amount of the endowment?
Yeah, that's the key.
I can certainly get that information for you. I don't have it.
So
Yeah,
that's
'cause I don't
very
think we
similar
can
to the
approve a
UTEP.
negative expenditure. I think we have to approve the actual endowed amount.
I agree.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah, it's very similar to the case from UTEP, where the expenditure was marked $2,417, and then we learned that the endowment really is $100,000.
Okay, I'll submit that information to you for the endowed chair, but the rest of them we're withdrawing because they're all the various sponsor accounts.
So to the committee, are you okay with marking 80447 as restricted research, with the understanding that the coordinating board receives the endowment dollars and substitutes that with a negative $978?
And I still am hung up on the fact that there is no dollar award for this year. There's an empty bank account.
Well,
and whatever it was in prior years doesn't matter. There's no money now.
Well, but no, that's not the case. This is just the activity that was on the ledger for this year. So there's definitely money in here, and it was an award that we received obviously in a previous year that just did not get on the list. So.
Are you saying that the corpus is still there, that this is just, let's just say the interest-bearing portion of it, but that the corpus is still there and you believe that that corpus was not previously reported?
Correct. This endowment has not been reviewed. There was an initial award, gift amount that went along with this endowment.
Do you by chance have a guesstimate as to what year it might have been received?
Not in the least.
So this could be something that's been here for 5 years or 6 years or 7 years or something of that nature, or even yet last year.
No idea.
That sounds familiar.
I mean, based on our conversation the other day, I thought we were saying that endowments, by definition, were research.
I agree. Purpose of endowment is for faculty to do research, and we haven't really talked about counting endowments that have been the institution for several years and are just now being presented to the Transparency Committee for review so that you can count those research expenditures as endowment. We really haven't talked about that. So based on that, I would say yes.
I would caution, and I don't think it's the case with this one, but I would caution against saying all endowments are for research, because we do have endowments at my institution that are not for research. And actually, if you look at most people's endowment policies, it actually says there are multiple allowed uses.
Yeah, not all endowments are restricted research. I think that's an overgeneralization. I think what we have been consistent on is endowed chairs, endowed professorships. So,
I'm even talking about those. At my institution, we have them for other purposes than research. So I don't necessarily take that at face value.
They
Come
need to
again?
be reviewed for what they actually do, rather than just blanket say endowments are going to be restricted research by definition.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Endowments can come in a variety of purposes. Endowed chairs and endowed professorships, I think, we've been consistent in saying that those are research related. Not all endowments.
And what I was saying is that we have endowed chairs and endowed professorships that are specifically focused on teaching, not research.
Right.
So
And
they
we
do
have them
exist.
here, and that's what I'm saying as well, that not all of them are automatically research related. Some of them are, probably the majority are, but some of them are not.
I see.
And
We have
I
them here. We have
apologize.
a bunch of them here where I am.
This is an endowed professorship.
Do you by any chance, Sarah, have the amount of the thing? Because I'm not comfortable doing a blanket approval without an amount.
I am continuing to try and look, and I'm not coming up with anything. This is not something that our office keeps. The endowment office is separate, so I would need to get a hold of somebody over there. But, who knows how much, well, is this the last page?
Yeah.
Am I it? All right.
We have three which
we're
we
waiting on.
tabled.
Right.
Okay, well, can you do those and then come back to me? Maybe I can find somebody.
Sure. So those were UT San Antonio 78696, 78317, 79627, and those were some kind of economic research for a sponsor, and there's what appears by the title are three different sponsors, and the question was what happens to the data.
So we have a standard agreement for this type of work for the Center for Community and Business Research, and I can read you the article on study results and publication because I believe the question was who holds access to the information.
Right.
And it designates that the university will keep all drawings, specifications, plans, computations, et cetera, will remain property of the university. However, the sponsor will be permitted to retain copies, subject to the written approval of the university. Will have the right to produce and publicize the study results. University approvals listed in this section will not be unreasonably withheld, and it does say, as a state institution of higher education, engages in research services compatible with, consistent with, and beneficial to its academic role and mission. Therefore, significant results of research activities under this agreement shall be available for publication. The university shall have the final authority to determine the scope and content of any publication, subject to the requirements of Article 7 of this agreement.
And that was accepted in each one of these agreements?
That's correct.
To me, I think it goes back to it's applied research then. And I would say yes if that's the case.
Sources that, basically being utilized for one purpose, right? At least from the faculty's perspective, or research perspective.
Yes.
As long as there's no restriction on publication, then yeah.
Okay,
I agree, yes.
there is a consensus for yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, thank you for the additional information.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we are left with the endowed chair, which,
Oh, just me?
yeah, at UT Arlington, which is, we were ensured it's a research type of endowed chair. So the endowment has been existing in the past, and now the the institution wants to count it under restricted research. The question is, what is the amount of the endowment?
And I have not received a response, so I guess I'll withdraw it and we'll put it up again next year.
This does beg a question just that came to mind, is that similar to this, if the University of Houston suddenly realized that it didn't submit something from 5 years ago, would it necessarily be appropriate for us to submit it next year? An award, whatever it might be. I can understand if it didn't hit last year, but how far back do we feel comfortable going, or do we not care as a committee? This is just general discussion here.
I'm okay with going back as long as it's not to make up for past stuff that's been reported in the actual expenditure report.
I agree. I think that as long as the award is still active, and as long as there is a qualified purpose, such as being able to report the expenditures on the research report, right? Why not go back? Because we are in the same boat as with the Arlington. We discover corpuses that have never been reported. So it's very difficult to come up with that kind of investment, whatever. But going back should be allowable as long as we can make a case that it is restricted research and the award is still active and we're going to have expenditures against it. That's it from you, Ted.
I think that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I heard back, and it's 500,000.
Nice.
Thanks. And it's old, if you really want to test your theories.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So yeah, as long as you've got the amount and you send that to the coordinating board and you can confirm it's for research, I don't have an issue with approving it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the amount is
and that it has not been previously approved by the committee.
Correct.
Right.
It has not been previously approved by the committee, and it's 500,000.
Right.
Okay, well, that's information. So we mark this as restricted research. And you two, please send us an email so that we can update the list with 500,000.
So can I ask a question about the 500,000?
Sure.
Is the endowment itself 100,000 and the faculty gets the proceeds of that, which is a percent collected every year, or is it that's what actually the faculty member gets? For instance, I'm an endowed professor.
Okay.
And the person who endowed the position put up $1 million.
Okay.
And so I don't get $1 million, I get 5% a year, roughly.
Correct.
So that's the question I'm asking. Is the 500,000 is actually what the person gets, or is it the amount that was endowed?
The 500,000 is the amount that was endowed.
And do you know what the actual amount is that actually the person gets? Like in my case, it's $1 million, but I don't get $1 million. I get a percent of that. The money sits in the bank, generates interest. It depends, sometimes 4%, sometimes 5%.
Right, and that would be the same thing in this case.
So you're saying really what you're getting is it's not 500,000. It's more like, exactly.
Right.
It's about 20,000.
If that, yeah.
Right. So I think we need to clean up some of these issues. And for instance, I'm new in this position at UT Tyler, and I can tell you that we have been significantly underreporting. We have dozens and dozens of projects because our definition of research was not, perhaps I think we're not in line with what we're doing. And so we have dozens of endowments, dozens of other projects. We have, for example, just a quick example of an $850,000 grant that was roughly 50% research, but that for some reason it wasn't submitted. And so we're going to have to completely rethink what we've been doing with this as far as UT Tyler is concerned. But I'm just curious, maybe some guidelines, some parameters that we can all use to help be a little bit consistent about what is considered and what is not, and that kind of thing.
Well, that's SAM's, the Standing Accounting Method. Because I encountered that when I arrived at University of Texas Permian Basin, so I had to help quickly get that in line as well.
Right, and we also need the question that one of you asked. I'm sorry, I didn't remember your name. Do we submit projects that are not current? Going back, how further back can we go? 3 years, 4 years, 2 years?
Well, I think you've got to differentiate when we say older ones. Are you differentiate between the old award, but you're starting to count the expenditures now, or are you going to try to retroactively account for past years, which I don't think would be appropriate?
I agree.
So if you have...
That's where I was coming from originally.
Yeah, I'm in a similar situation here at UHCL. I was new to this process last year, and we picked up a number of things this year that were still active awards that had not been reported last year. But that's as far back as I went. If it was no longer active, I didn't include it.
Right, so if you have a...
We've done that too, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's most applicable to gifts and endowments and endowed chairs.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're just, in the spirit of the Transparency Committee, if we come across ones that are, that we think are research and we haven't reported them yet, we just want to put them in front of you so you can consider them and then be able to count the expenditures going forward.
That makes perfect sense.
That's reasonable.
I agree, and UNT had a little bit of cleanup this year too. We found some amounts that hadn't been reported, and they were included.
Okay. Then I think we can say that we worked ourselves through all the awards. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think this was a learning experience this year. So every year it's a little bit different flavor for this committee. And this year the takeaway is how to present the information so that the right things float up quickly, and we can you can have a decision. We had a couple today. There were lots of undecided because the information wasn't quite there. So that's something to go forward with in general. And specifically, we will work on that issue with funds which came up today, and we'll discuss that going forward. And you'll hear from us about that.
All right.
Sounds good. Thank you all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we go for adjournment.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Bye.